one kind of amusing little thing I did arranging my bookshelf is I put The Vantage Point by Lyndon Baines Johnson up at the front. That's my signed book by President LBJ, the president who really got us into the Vietnam War. So that's kind of my little bit of humor, is putting the book by LBJ up front. But anyway. Hi everyone, I'm Sean, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. So let's get into it. First of all, I discovered Tim O'Brien from the Top 1000 list by James Mustich. His book, The Things They Carried, is a Top 1000 book. So I was at the bookstore and I saw a signed Tim O'Brien book in the Lake of the Woods, and I guess I wanted to buy something that day and nothing else really appealed to me because I'd never read any of his books before, but I was like, well, he's a Top 1000 author, so may as well get it. And then I think either that day or a few days later, I got The Things They Carried. So I basically bought this signed copy blind, only knowing that he's a Top 1000 author. So I kind of took a chance on it. So the first thing you should know about the book is that it is his sort of memoirs of his time in Vietnam during the Vietnam War. And myself, I am not a fan of memoirs, and I'm also not a fan of any kind of books or movies really about wars, because I don't want to get into politics, but basically movies or books about war just kind of pisses me off, because I've never met a war that I liked or that I thought was necessary. I think they were all unnecessary, basically, and that there's no glory in fighting them. So, yeah, basically I just do not like any kind of stories about war, because I think they kind of glorify the war, or they glorify the fighting, and I don't really think there's anything glorious about it. It's strangers killing strangers because of politics. And yeah, I'm already getting into stuff I don't want to talk about. But yeah, I just generally do not like memoirs, and I do not like war stories. But I started this book, and in the first chapter, I was like, okay, that was a pretty perfect chapter. That was like one of the best first chapters I've ever read. It was just perfect. And then a couple chapters later, I don't really want to spoil it, but if you read it, it's the chapter where the main character, Tim, is, he gets a draft notice, so he goes up to the Canadian border because he's thinking of just crossing the border. And so that chapter and the first chapter, those two chapters alone assured the book a 5-star rating. So yeah, they were just so good of chapters and just so moving, and just, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just perfect, and it was perfectly written, and it was just beautiful in a way. And that's ultimately what I think about this book. This book is ultimately art. It's artwork. And the only thing I could really compare it to is a movie, The Shape of Water, by Guillermo del Toro, the maker of the Hellboy movies. That movie, The Shape of Water, is such a beautiful movie. It's really the most beautiful movie I've ever seen. It's art. It's not just a movie, it's art. And I think this book, The Things They Carried, is the same way. It's not just a book, it is art. And I've never really read any books that I could say the same thing about. It's just so good. And there were parts in the middle of the book, or kind of towards the end, where I was starting to get bored, and I was like, okay, it's kind of boring. I don't really see what this chapter is doing. I just kind of want to get through the book. But then the chapter or the storyline would redeem itself. It would come together, and I would understand, oh, that's why he was doing all this stuff, setting up all this stuff. So there is really no fault I could find in this book. Overall, it was just perfection. The first chapter, and then the third or fourth chapter, the one where he's gets the draft notice, those were just such great, moving, perfectly written chapters, and the rest of the book was just great as well overall. And I can't really describe what the book does so well. It's just these stories about his time in Vietnam, the guys he is with, and he doesn't try to really manipulate your feelings to make you think the war was good or bad, or that the soldiers were good or bad. I mean, he shows some pretty horrific stuff, both from what these soldiers experienced and also what they did themselves. And basically that is my whole views on war, is that neither side is really good. It's strangers killing strangers. And that's basically what O'Brian says is happening. And so I just really liked it. It's just a perfect book in a way. So I would say that no matter your tastes, you should read this book. I would recommend it for everyone. So it's a definite 5-star book to me. There's no faults I could see in it. The few times I got bored, it was worth reading. It did pay off. It did have a point to it. So overall, I just love this book. It was pretty much perfection. It does deserve a 5-star book, 5-star rating, and you should read it. And I am also so thrilled now that I got the signed copy, because I don't really want to say he's a genius, because I don't know, but it's just such a perfectly written book. It's just such a beautiful book, a moving story. It's something I'll probably never forget. And so now I'm super glad I have the signed copy. And so this book, In the Lake of the Woods, is probably going to rocket up my to-read list, because I just really liked the things they carried. So that is it. A 5-star rating for Tim O'Brian, The Things They Carried. I loved it. You should read it. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.